You are too awesome to think that you're not awesome. You're too powerful to keep playing small. You're too wise to keep saying that you don't know what you're doing. You've got it. You've got it. You've got it all. The only reason that you can't see that you can't feel that, is because you're so effing clouded with who you think you are. You think that you're this little person, this little human with certain life experiences that you've had up to this point, and some of them were kind of nice, and some of them were really scary, and they gave you these traumas, and now you're tripping over those. Blah, blah, blah. Everybody has that. It's called an ego, or in psychology and science, it's called a self-concept or a psyche. Whatever. We all have that. You don't have to listen to it. I want you to know that. I want you to know that and understand that. And maybe these words don't mean anything right now because you're still so identified with that. And that part of you, that ego, that voice, the one that's always judging you and judging the world and complaining and trying to figure out how to make things be okay because you don't feel good inside. So what can I do outside in order to feel okay? And I got to control these people so that they say the right thing and act the right way, and then I'll be happy. And then if I get just the right job that pays just the right amount of money so that I can go on just the right vacation, drive just the right car, then I'll be okay. Yeah, that voice. That voice might hear these words that I'm saying, where I'm saying like you don't need to listen to it, that's not who you are. And that voice is going to have a lot of choice words about how that's bullshit. Well, I'm telling you, or rather I'm telling your little voice that's piping up right now, that is bullshit. It's just another thought. It's just another thing floating through your mind. The same way the weather floats through the sky and it's always changing. Have you noticed that? The weather's always changing. The weather in here constantly changing. And what makes you feel good right now today, tomorrow won't make you feel good. It'll change. That'll change. This is always changing. So the outside world, you always need to be wrestling with it and changing it and constantly. And even if you finally, magically, somehow have the strength, the will, and the ability to get all of the outside world and all of the outside players lined up just the way you need them to feel good in here, guess what? The outside world is always changing too. It's also just weather. It's constantly moving. It's constantly in flux. It's the only constant in life is change. Getting excited here. I'm getting a little excited. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you because you don't have to live that exhausting life. You don't have to. You can if you want. You can do whatever you want. You walk the path however you want to do it. That's fine. But if you find yourself in a place where it doesn't feel good, where you're wrestling, you're struggling, you're filled with rage and anxiety and depression, and if you're getting tired of that, it's because you're too identified with the bullshit weather that is your mind, that is your self-concept, that is your ego. The solution, the way around, the way forward is to let go of your identity with that. That doesn't mean that you have to get rid of these thoughts, get rid of this weather. You don't have to get rid of your past you don't need to in fact, don't try to get rid of anything, because then you're just fighting with it, you're wrestling with it. Instead, you just allow it to be. You don't suppress it and push it away and resist it or hide from it. You don't try to cover it up with drugs and alcohol and scrolling and shopping. You don't do that. And also, you don't act on it. When you're feeling angry, you don't just lash out at your partner because you're having a bad day and they said one thing the wrong way and now you're ripping them in half. You don't feed these thoughts by acting on them, or rather reacting when they show up. You don't react. You damn sure don't depress or suppress, which leads to depression, because that was my game. I'll be honest, that's still my game. That's still my game, because this isn't just going to happen overnight. This is a work in progress. This is something that you get to do for the rest of your life. But so what? So what? This time is going to go by anyway. Why not clean this up? Clean up your relationship with the part of your psyche that makes you feel so bad. Let's just clean up that relationship. You just relax behind it. You don't suppress it, and you don't react with it. It's gonna come up. Something's gonna trigger you. Something outside, whether it's an event, the weather, a person, a story, piece of bad news, it's gonna come and it's gonna hit your stuff. And we all have different stuff. It's different. Have you noticed how one thing can happen outside that makes me happy, but it makes you sad? Or vice versa? Okay? We're all different. We've all got our own personal little psyche egos. It's gonna come in, it's gonna hit your thing, you're gonna feel triggered. It's gonna feel uncomfortable, and you're gonna habitually do what you always do. In my case, that means I suppress. I'm just like, I didn't like that, but I'll just put on a happy face and keep going through the world. Smashing it down there. Or other people will lash out, or they will express it. You know, maybe they'll scream, or maybe they'll cry, or maybe they'll whatever, but instead of doing that, instead of doing your habit, you just relax. Michael Singer talks about this in depth. This is all he talks and teaches about. You're going to hear me talk a lot about Michael Singer for a while, okay? So buckle up. He talks about relaxing behind that. And to be clear, when I'm using the word you relax, I'm not talking about the ego you, aka lowercase u, in lowercase y. I'm not talking about who you think you are. I'm not talking about the voice. The consciousness behind the voice, the consciousness that animates your entire existence. If you didn't know, you're not your thoughts. You're not your emotions. You are consciousness experiencing this human having those thoughts, having those emotions. You are witnessing everything. The same way you can look outside and witness that it's raining, or witness that it's snowing, or witness that it's sunny, you are inside. You, capital U, the self, the consciousness, the soul, the spirit, the Atman. Labels, doesn't matter. You are that consciousness witnessing a human psyche that feels scared, that feels anxious, that feels excited, that feels loved, that feels defeat, that feels, you name it. You are back there witnessing all of that. So, when an outside event comes in and it triggers and it stimulates some discomfort, and you're going to feel yourself wanting to do the habit, whatever your habit is, you, capital Y, you, the conscious you, relaxes behind it. That doesn't mean that you make the anger try to go away. Anger is going to be angry. You don't try to make the fear or the anxiety go away or the depression go away. You just take a step back with your consciousness and you watch that thing play out. You allow it to play out. You don't suppress it. You don't embellish it and feed it and react with it either. You don't touch it. It wants to come up. It wants to release. You, the conscious energy, don't identify with it. You're not your thoughts. You're not your emotions. That can be a tricky thing to understand or to grasp, because for your entire life, that's all you've been told. That's all you've been led to believe. You will have quote unquote proof of it. You know, when something happens outside, it makes me feel this way inside. I'm not going to get into that right now, why that's not true. You're not your thoughts. You're not your emotions. You're not your mind. You're not your self-concept. You are the conscious energy that is witnessing all of that. This body that you're in is an organism. Your consciousness happens to be watching this organism. My consciousness is watching this organism that I call James. All right, I'm just watching James. You imagine that you are in a movie and you're the main character. You're the star of the movie. And you do the method form of acting where you like really throw yourself into it. And even when the cameras stop rolling, stop filming, you're still being that character. And then the movie's done and it's over. And now you get to go home again. You get to go back to your family. You know, you leave the movie set and all that. There are actors that do that form of method, and they really lose themselves in the character, and they have trouble coming back for a little while. There's a transition period. I've heard Cillian Murphy talk about this. I've heard Jim Carrey talk about this. Great documentary, by the way, Jim and Andy and the Great Beyond. If you want to hear him talk about how he lost himself in the role of Andy Kaufman, and it took him a while to come back to find Jim Carrey. And in that process, he realized, oh shit, if I could lose Jim Carrey, then how real was that? That's just another character that I've been playing. That's what you're doing. That's what I'm doing. I'm playing the character, the actor. I'm acting as James Richardson, okay? But when I step back, I step away from the camera and the flash and all of that, I realize, oh, that's just a character. My consciousness got so sucked into the character that you believe that that's who you are. And that's what all 8.3 billion people on Earth are doing. You don't have to do that. You can. You're more than welcome to do that. That's the life you've already been living up to this point. And if it's working for you, and if you're super happy and you feel full of joy and inspiration and connection all the time and love for yourself and love for others, if you have that, thank you for finding that in yourself and showing up in the world that way. Keep doing it. If you don't feel that, if you don't experience that, if that's not your reality, I was going to put 100% guarantee. I'm not going to do that, but I almost 100% guarantee it's because you're too identified with your thoughts, your emotions, your preferences, what you think you like, what you think you don't like, how you need people to act and behave, and how the world needs to be in order for you to feel okay. You've identified with that character, and that character is broken. Obviously, our psyche is a very complex, weird, makes no sense kind of place. It's dangerous in there, quite frankly, or it can be. You can step back. You can step back. I'm going to put out more videos where I talk about actually how you do that and what that process looks like. If you want to go deeper with any of what I have said, if any of that is scratching some interest for you, I mean, there's so many different teachers out there. This is what the Buddha talked about, and the oh man, what are those called? The Four Noble Truths. It's exactly what he talks about. The teachings of Jesus Christ talk about this. Lao Tzu and the Tao Te Ching talks about this. Ram Dass talks about this. Eckhart Tolle. I really dig Michael Singer because his approach is just he tells it like it is, man. There's no fluff. There's no frills. It's just a no-nonsense approach to why you suffer. It's self-imposed because you've identified with that character. And how you end your suffering, which is you let go of all of your preferences. You let go of whatever that voice is telling you you think you need or you think you want in order to... No, you drop all that. You start to witness. You step back to being the conscious witness rather than being lost in the character. This turned out to be way longer than I was expecting, but you know what? I'm good with it. I'm good with it. And if you're still here watching this, then you are ready. And only somebody that would have watched up to 14 minutes is somebody that this is speaking to you because you are ready for change. The same way a hermit crab knows when it's time to let go of her shell. It starts to get weird and tight and uncomfortable in there. And then they're ripe to shed that old shell. Welcome, hermit crab. Welcome. Let us shed our shells. Let us shed our ego and live a life that feels good, that feels great, that feels inspiring. Whew. You are awesome. You are powerful. You are wise. But not the ego you, the capital Y you. I love you.